Hello, my friend. Welcome to your sleep story. My name is Kayla Browen, and I'm your guide tonight, a storyteller from the peaceful hills of Vermont. Tonight's journey is about stillness, change, and learning how to pause. It's part of my Night Whispers series, soft, immersive stories designed to ease your thoughts and guide you into restful sleep. We'll follow a man named Elijah on his quiet journey from a bustling American city to a calmer, slower life in a small coastal town. Take a deep breath in and out. Let's count from 10 to 1. With each number, let go just a little more. You're lying safely wherever you are. The weight of the day is already beginning to lift off. The earth is still beneath you. You are grounded, supported. Your breath is steady. The noise of the world grows distant. Let your shoulders fall. Your jaw unclench. Your eyelids grow heavy. You don't need to solve anything, right? Now, just listen. Just be. Let your imagination awaken. Let go. Let's begin. The city of Chicago is wrapped in spring rain. Glass buildings gleaming with droplets. Streets dark and glistening like slick oil paintings. Horns blared. Heels clicked along sidewalks, and steam hissed from grates like the city itself exhaling. But Elijah stood still beneath a dimly lit awning outside. Union Station. His brown leather duffel was slung over one shoulder. A faded green umbrella tilted above him, shielding him only partly from the drizzle. His long coat was wet at the hem. His glasses fogged up the edges. He didn't mind. It would be the last rain he'd see in Chicago for a while. The night bus to Charleston, South Carolina, pulled into the terminal with a sigh, its headlights cutting through the haze, the driver nodding silently to passengers as they climbed aboard. Elijah stepped up, showed his ticket, and was greeted with a quiet smile. Inside, the cabin was dimly lit, warm. Still. The noise of the city fell away the moment the doors shut. No more sirens, no train announcements. Just the low hum of the engine and the muffled sound of people settling in. The seats smelled faintly of linen and women, a strange but comforting mix. Elijah took a window seat near the back. No one sat beside him. A small grace. He folded his coat, placed it across his lap, tucked his duffel under the seat, and leaned his head gently against the cool window. Rain traced lazy lines down the glass. The bus pulled out of the city slowly. The skyline softened behind them, gold and steel fading into mist. It had been 3 days since Elijah submitted his resignation. No party, no dramatic goodbye. Just a simple email sent before sunrise. I'm stepping away for a while. Thank you. Most of his friends thought he was taking a break. Maybe to write, maybe to teach, but Elijah wasn't escaping. He was releasing late nights, endless presentations, the spreadsheet life, the corporate climb. He wasn't sure what he was heading toward, only that it had to be something different. Soft chime overhead. The lights dimmed a little more. Outside, billboards turned to trees. Overpasses became open fields. Hours passed. The hum of the wheels, the whisper of the rain. The city fell away. He sipped warm tea from a paper cup he tucked into his bag. Chamomile, a gift from a coworker who once said, "You look like someone who needs sleep more than caffeine." Somewhere near Indianapolis, the bus stopped briefly. Elijah watched passengers shuffle in and out, a teenage girl with headphones, an old man in a flannel jacket, a mother cradling a sleeping baby. Life in motion. Everyone going somewhere. He reached into his coat pocket and found a postcard, an old one, showing a cottage on a Carolina beach, whitewashed walls, pale dunes, a blue porch swing. He didn't know if it still existed, but that image had stayed with him for years. A place without noise, a place where he could breathe. The bus curved southeast. The rain eased into mist. The fields widened. The world quieted. A wool blanket lay in the overhead comfort bin. Elijah pulled it down and wrapped it around his shoulders. A lavender-scented eye mask and a tiny bottle of mint water had been tucked beside it. Unexpected kindnesses. He didn't speak, didn't read, just watched the dark countryside drift by. Somewhere in Kentucky, the sun began to rise. The sky turned from charcoal to soft gray to pale orange. He drifted off somewhere near the Smoky Mountains, waking only as the bus crossed a wide bridge into North Carolina. The trees were different now, tall pines swaying gently, Spanish moss hanging like whispers from branches. Beside him, an elderly woman with a soft southern accent offered him a clementine. "They're sweeter when they've waited long enough," she said with a wink. He smiled and accepted it. The citrus scent filled the small space between them. The taste was sharp, bright, like waking up for the first time in weeks. She asked. No questions. Neither did he. They simply shared silence. The bus moved on. Hills turned to wetlands. Trees gave way to coastline dot by the time they reached Charleston. The morning was warm and misty. A light breeze carried the scent of salt and wisteria through the streets. The terminal was old brick, simple. Still waking Elijah stepped off the bus and stretched. His limbs felt unfamiliar, like they were slowly becoming his again. The streets here were slower, cobblestone alleys, porches with rocking chairs, a vendor selling sweet tea in mason jars. He found a bench beneath a blooming magnolia and sat. No rush, no expectation, just breath. He pulled out his journal and wrote one line. "There's a stillness I've never met before, and I think it's trying to introduce itself." He closed the book. He wasn't sure what was next. A rented room? A cabin? He'd seen a listing once for a cottage just outside Folly Beach. Maybe it was still there. Maybe it didn't matter. He boarded a local ferry that would take him across the harbor to James Island. The water shimmered with morning light. Dolphins surfaced in the distance. A child pointed and laughed. The ferry rocked gently. Not like a challenge, like a cradle. An older man sitting nearby looked over. "First time heading south?" "Elijah." Nodded. The man said. "Good. Folks forget what slow feels like." The ride ended with no fanfare, just a quiet bell. Elijah stepped onto the dock, sand in the air, warmth on his skin. The cottage was exactly as he remembered it from the postcard. Peeling paint, a porch swing, wild grass curling around the edges. Inside, creaking floors, linen curtains, a kettle already waiting on the stove. He made tea. He sat in a wooden chair that looked out toward the marshes. He listened out to birds, to frogs, to himself. Later that afternoon, he walked to the beach, took off his shoes, let the Atlantic kiss his feet. Not cold, not hot, just present. He stood there for a long time, the wind in his coat, the waves slow and steady. He whispered, maybe only to himself, "I don't know who I'm becoming, but I like how he feels." That night, he slept with the windows open, the ocean breathing, and for the first time in many years, so did he.